The responsible development of the mining sector offers the potential to transform Central Asia and Mongolia into key players in the global supply of critical minerals, while simultaneously promoting sustainable economic growth and prosperity for their populations. The journey from opportunity to ore demands a comprehensive approach. Attracting investment, managing geological risks, and implementing sustainable practices are all essential to unlocking the region's full mineral potential. By gaining a deeper understanding of the geological risks and complexities within these regions, and by leveraging existing geological data and knowledge, investors can reduce their risks and maximize returns. Key tools in this process, such as the EBRD Junior Miners Program, geological surveys and exploration programs, are vital for driving growth and development. To help navigate this dynamic landscape, we have brought together a diverse group of experts: geologists, investors, project developers, mining engineers, and industry representatives who will share their valuable insights and expertise.
Thank you, Arthur. Well, with a video and Arthur's introduction, I don't really need to do anything. It's perfect. Okay, so 5 great talks lined up, and then, as Arthur said, we've got a little panel at the end, about 15 minutes to chat through. So, without further ado, I will introduce Azamat. Please join us from EBRD. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm excited to talk to you about EBRD Junior Mining Program, JUMP, dedicated equity facility to support early-stage mining projects. So I think in the last session, there was a question, where is equity, from Han? So here's a partial answer to that question. Natalia talked about EBRD, so I'll skip that. And traditionally, we've been supporting construction and operation phases of mining projects, where compared with the exploration stages with much more risk. And JUMP targets projects from defined and certified mineral resources from project development until project construction. So anything between resource estimate until project construction is within the JUMP program. So why JUMP? Why now? There are a number of challenges. The world needs more metals and minerals due to the number of reasons: green energy transition, digitalization, geopolitical factors in play, growing population, etc. In addition, junior mining space is underserviced by capital markets in our region, in EBRD region. So that's why we are doing now. So let's talk about JUMP in detail. So this program is designed to address the challenges, and with total investment of 150 million euros. And we intend to invest around 10 companies to achieve diversification of our portfolio. So we have long-term view. Our investment horizon is 5 years. So approximately 10 companies, 5 years, so 2 projects per year. And holding period is around 5 plus 5 years. We would love to have like-minded co-investors alongside EBRD. And we are very flexible in terms of the instrument. So it can be equity, straight equity, any quasi-equity instrument. And as a financial investor, we take only minority stakes. So if it's a listed company, usually it's up to 10%, just to avoid insider status, because some exchange have very strict rules. For the private projects, we have more flexibility. So it can be up to 25. But we need to have an experienced sponsor and structured exit. So strategy like IPO or strategic sale. So which projects are eligible for this program? First of all, it's geography. The project should be located in one of our countries' operation. So I can talk in detail about it later. So our money, our funds can be used for any project development studies, like pre-feasibility preparation for the pre-feasibility studies, environmental studies, drilling, sampling, analysis, etc., even sometimes in working capital. Our clients, so we invest only in the companies, not in the project itself. So it can be, it should be private. Private, I mean non-state. However, we can invest in the projects where there is in the JVs with the state-owned companies, assuming that this project is operated and owned by the private company. Management team is a key to success of any project. So we would love to see a strong management team in our projects. And we expect that the project we invest have robust project economics. So we are a commercial investor. We expect commercial returns. And we would like to have very strong, the highest ESG standards from outset. This is our core requirement in all our projects. So here about geography. This is our current existing remit where we invest, and Central Asia is one of the core mining countries of operation. From the middle of the next year, hopefully, we are expanding to sub-Saharan Africa, starting from 6 countries. It's Benin, Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and I think plus Iraq. So, and why EBRD? Why EBRD? Well, first of all, EBRD is a long-term investor. We have long-term view. So we see a lot of challenges, a lot of growth and losses. So we have long-term view, and we have strong local presence. We have resident offices in all our countries' operation. So it's a typical our modus operandi, and we hope it will be. We hope that the project will progress until they reach the construction stage, where we can invest with a follow-up equity or project finance debt investment. And we do very comprehensive due diligence, and we have in-house mining engineer. We have very large environmental and sustainability team involved in all our projects. So here is a couple of case studies. In the past, we've been doing these investments in junior mining companies on an ad hoc basis. But if we invest today, these projects could be eligible for this program. And we already talk about today about Saritagan. In Central Asia, I would say it's the perfect candidate will be EBRD Resources. We provided 5 million loan for the development of a gold project. So. And then after 1 year, we managed to convert because of the share price appreciation. And now the mine is half built and expected to pour first gold in the middle of the next year. And this is our traditional investments, is a debt, project finance debt and equity. So we are very excited to see progress, to see positive impact with this program. And thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Azamat. It's good, as I think the talks and sessions before said about vision. And I like to see that vision and a foresight into what's going on in the market and where you can assist it and participate. So it's great. Thank you. Nikki, would you like to join us from the British Geological Survey?
Hi, good afternoon. The after coffee break right at the end. It's great to be here. I'm going to take this right back to talking about geological surveys and the importance of a geological survey in helping to unlock the opportunities. I've actually got Russian on my slides. I don't know how relevant that actually is, given the faces in the room. And if there's any Russian that's really wrong for any Russian speakers, I'm going to blame Google Translate. So apologies for that. So the role of a geological survey organisation. So from our perspective, really, as the British Geological Survey, we perceive that a geological survey should be that kind of expert on the regional geology. The source of that baseline non-competitive data that organisations can use for research, exploration, planning and disaster risk management. And they should be that authoritative provider of data. But geological survey needs to be well funded so that it can be that independent source of knowledge, and that they can be the focal point for finding out information and geological data for a region or country. So a geological survey should underpin the extractives industry because it's really important through the data and the knowledge that it holds in providing governments, stakeholders, policymakers with the information that they can need to help guide them in data-driven decisions. That detailed geological knowledge is key to developing natural resources in an environmental manner. But access to that data is incredibly crucial and important. So many countries are rich in resources, but there needs to be the right environment for mining companies and investors. So a geological survey can play a really important role in that by providing their data in an easily accessible manner, allowing organisations to understand what data is held by the Geological Survey and by being the custodians of authoritative data. I don't know why I put authoritative in. I always trip over that word. And then through the use of that digital data and technology to deliver knowledge to external stakeholders. They can help to encourage investment in the country. And by creating a situation where mining companies know that they're going to be able to find out about the geological data for a country, that is going to encourage those investors to come to the country because they know they can make data-driven decisions. And I know this is quite high level. It's quite a complicated thing to be kind of advocating for. But I really do feel that having that geological survey that is that fundamental source of regional information can be really, really important. So from the British Geological Survey's perspective, how can an organisation actually go about doing this? So at the British Geological Survey, we have what we call our Geological Data Centre. We are the national geological data centre for the UK. And we do quite a lot of work with overseas organisations about how they can then sort of approach and take that approach themselves. So the first step is to invest in the development of geological data and then bringing that data together, centrally stored, manageable, accessible. Then it can be used, it can be manipulated, it can be analysed, it can be delivered. And then you can also ingest new data into that system. So just to kind of show that in a little bit more detail. So at the heart of your geological data centre is those central accessible relational databases. So they hold all the data for the organisation. They can also hold the scans. They can link through from data to scans, and then that can be fed out to staff. So obviously the staff of an organisation need to have access to that data so that they can do their own work, they can do research, and they can develop data projects. But then also that data centre then becomes the sole source of the data that can be delivered externally. And how that data is delivered externally can vary, but it can be delivered to stakeholders, it can be delivered to government organisations, but the data is there in an accessible, findable, accessible, interoperable and reusable data source. So there are a huge range of benefits. I've already mentioned that the benefits to staff inside the organisation in terms of them being able to use their own data. So we don't have different data sets in different parts of geological survey organisations, sometimes being duplicated in its development. Some departments not really realising what other data is sitting within the organisation. So bringing it all together so it can be used internally. But then for the external stakeholder, there's also benefits. You can create data catalogues, put that data catalogue online, then at least people know what you've got. Even if it's not ready to be delivered externally, you can tell people what you've got. We can then also deliver the actual data. So we can develop digital data that can be put online in a web map, or it can then be, if the organisation decides that this is what they want to do, they can allow data downloads, or they could do data licensing. So again, it makes that data more easily accessible and available for other organisations to potentially take that data and use it within their own systems to do their own analysis and research. One of the really important things for a geological survey is that they need to release that data in a timely manner. So they need to have processes in place to update it as they get new data. And then as this process develops, they can demonstrate their relevance. So they can become that source of understanding and knowledge about the geology of a country. So I'm just going to give a really quick example from Northern Ireland. So this is from 2017. So we had the TELUS project. So there was 2 geochemical surveys and an airborne geophysics survey carried out. So there was 22,000 samples analysed, and there was geophysics, magnetometer, electromagnetic and gamma ray spectrometry. And the Geological Survey of Northern Ireland, which is it is linked to the BGS, but it is run out through the Department for Economy in Northern Ireland. They started releasing that data online and making it available. So at the start of the TELUS project, licence coverage in Northern Ireland was approximately 17%. In the years immediately following it, this licence coverage topped out at 73%. So it just shows that through the release of data, that it can encourage investment, it can encourage the development of mining licenses and the development of mines. So I know I'm unsure of the exact audience in the room right now, because it's just after coffee. As in, if you're all investors, then obviously you will completely know that you need the data to be able to do the research to get the licenses. But I think it's about the geological surveys and the governments of the country understanding that how much benefit it's going to be to actually start releasing data. So in terms of BGS in Central Asia, so we are working through a UK government funded project. We're working with the Kazakh National Geological Survey, the Kyrgyz Geological Service, and the Ministry of Mining, Industry and Geology in Uzbekistan. And at the moment, that project is focused around digital transformation of data related to critical minerals. So in Kazakhstan, we're working with them to help develop their geological map standards. We've done database training so that they can look at developing central databases. In Kyrgyzstan, we're continuing a project that we had before COVID. So we're looking there at developing that central data store, pulling in geochemistry data, geological map data, and trying to help them develop their sort of mineral licensing data, linking through to reports. And in Uzbekistan, it's quite new. We've never worked in Uzbekistan before, but we're going to be working with them, helping them to sort of realise their digital transformation plan. So just in summary, data is only useful if it's in the hands of the people that need it. So in terms of a geological survey, by developing their digital data, putting it into the hands of the people that need it, they really can help encourage and unlock opportunities for mineral investment. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nikki. I think all of us who work in the Central Asia region understand there's so much good data out there, and it's just difficult to try and compile it, get our hands on it, and make it useful. So yeah, I think initiatives like these are where we all start and can really accelerate those programs. And hopefully it's free. I think that always unlocks the interest, but we'll see. Yeah. Okay, so our next two talkers are from SRK. So we'll link nicely into that data story. So James and Arthur, if you'd like to join us.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well? So I'm James. This is Arthur, who will stand up immediately after me. And we're here to talk about minimizing geological risk in order to realize project opportunities. Okay, so I have this first slide, and then Arthur will go after me for the next 3 or 4 slides. So we're both chartered geologists, and we're employed by SRK Consulting. It's a global consultancy firm specialized in exploration through to mine closure. We employ over 1,700 people across 40 plus offices worldwide. There's the spiel for SRK. Arthur, straight into you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, James, for introduction. Thanks for organizers for a spot for this chance to have this talk. So this is a classification of mineral resources. This is a CRISCA template, and this is an ultimate description of quality and risk associated with the project. So in Central Asia, in Kazakhstan, where I am from, we finally adopted CRISCA template and developed a special reporting code, which is called KazRC. And we normally and widely used it in our reports to speak common language and to deliver the same meaning, the same understanding of the risks to all parties and interested sides. So let's look into details. So for describing risks, we have a certain workflow, we have certain steps to proceed to get the full understanding of risks in the project. So in this talk, to make it shorter, we will focus on data collection, geological modeling, application of modifying factors. So classification and estimation parameters we won't touch in this talk. We start usually from global scale. So first thing, we need to understand the location of the project, the geological situation, geological scale, regional geological complexity, specialization, so belt-wise, province-wise, potential mineralization types, potential fault implications, alteration, weathering, and things associated with the regional geology. And we believe that full geological understanding is the one of the most important inputs for future mineral resources and the proper classification of these mineral resources. Next step, more interesting, is previous and existing data. So we need to carefully assess the quality of available information on the project, which form it came from, paper or electronic, how it was obtained, how it was processed, was it processed carefully and correct. For example, if we working with projects with a long history, some maps could be produced like 50 years ago, and we need, in order to use them in the modern geological software, we need to digitize them. And one step is georeferencing. We had projects in the past where quality of initial data wasn't perfect, and because of simply wrong georeferencing. So XY coordinates, like to simplify, was just mixed up, and that's why our geological structure and things displayed on the map were not in the places where they should be. So based on the analysis of the existing data, we need to understand which data is required to be collected, so which data is missing. So we can use modern technologies, we can use studies that were not available at the point of, for example, starting the project, and we can fill these gaps, we can cover this risk and reduce them. So next step is what geologists usually like the most, rocks and minerals. So we have to carefully analyze the database. We have to analyze grades. We have to analyze specific gravity. We need to analyze how samples have been collected. Is it okay or was it completely wrong? And based on that, we have to assess the quality. And we have to check, we have to run like twin analysis or verification drilling to see if our grades are confirmed or other parameters recorded at the previous stages are confirming. So following further steps, we take all these results from previous steps I described and put them into a model. But about models, James will tell you more.
Thank you, Arthur. Okay. Now we've got all the data from Arthur. We've got our drilling data, we've got our geomap, we've got maps, cross sections, topography, possibly underground as-built, multi-element data. We spoke to the BGS or the Kazakhstan Geological Survey, and we're going to import all of that into our modern software package of choice. We need to make a realistic interpretation of the mineralization, the geology, alteration, or anything else. This might involve the generation of a single model or several models or wireframes which combine together to make a realistic interpretation of the geology. After that, we can build 3D block models, we can estimate the grades, we can classify it, we can then validate the models. Again, as Arthur mentioned, we're not going to talk about that. I just put that there as a holding statement. There is more to come along. However, we need to jump ahead in a minute. But I'll bring you back to this quote up here. We've got the bullet point, or you can't place it. It says, in general, an ounce of geology is worth a pound of geostatistics. Now, any resource geologist, exploration geologist will know who said that. That's Harry Parker, who worked for Rio Tinto over 10 plus years ago. That's key. And that top statement up there, your geological model should be reflective of your geological understanding on the underlying data. If that's correct, we can't go too far wrong, in theory. You change the next slide, please. Thank you. So now we've got an understanding of our deposit and we've collected our geological data to make that 3D model. We need to now start to understand these modifying factors, which is what you hear about for reporting mineral resources and ore reserves. So before we do that, this will probably involve a multidisciplinary purpose or subject matter experts from ESG, geotechnics, etc. These people will come together with a QP or CP, depending on your reporting code, and they need to come together to get a holistic understanding. One of the key principles from an SOK MRE is getting an ESG or environmental social governance assessment. And this might involve looking at permitting, water, land use, impacts on local people. So we need to have a look at mitigating these issues or identifying potential issues from the start, whether it be from exploration through to more advanced feasibility studies. The collection of geotechnical data is also pretty key. At feasibility, we probably have feasibility or bank of feasibility study levels. We have this data, or we should have it. Earlier on, we don't necessarily have the geotech information to apply to open pit optimizations or potential underground mining methods. But we need to gather that data. How does water impact your project? What's the depth of the water table? What's contained of it? Can I recycle it? Can I reuse it? Is there going to be issues downstream? I'm not sure, but you need to gather that data. All of this is coming in from modifying factors. Mineralogical and metallurgical test work is also key in understanding how your elements or your product can be extracted and recovered in order to form a realistic mine plan. Furthermore, has there been any previous studies, as Arthur alluded to? Are there any new advancements in technologies that were not previously assessed? Can we now extract the tailings or get an economic mineral or product from the tailings? So in order to determine quantities of materials offering reasonable prospects, brackets, for eventual close brackets, economic extraction, according to reporting codes such as CASRC, JORC 43101, open pit or mineable stope optimizers are typically performed. They're used to constrain and report the resulting mineral resource statement, which is typically reported within measured, indicated, and inferred categories. The optimizations consider perceived mining technologies, pricing, cost, specifications, deleterious elements, ESG implications, metallurgical parameters, etc. The resulting optimizations must be reasonable and defendable. By collecting and consolidating all the available data, this can lead to identification of gaps and prioritization of further works in order to mitigate risk. One of the key take-home slides here is you should test your model for sensitivity, as flexing these parameters can be used to show how sensitive the optimizations or the model is to these modifying factors. Is there a low degree of sensitivity? Potentially, this could be a more investable project, depending on how things are flux and so to change. As you can see, there's a cross-section in the top right showing various pit shells within the same model, and that's just changing gold price by $50. So you can show that that model is particularly sensitive. It's a risk to investors potentially. So how do we understand that? Finally, you could consider an additional external red flag review prior to progressing your project. Have you identified all the gaps? Does your geological model represent your underlying data? Last slide, please. Thank you. So, in summary, we need to understand the data. We need to assess what data is available, ground truth, collect the additional data, validate that data. That's key, especially in Central Asia, considering how things may have been collected in the 50s, 80s, even 90s. It's different. We need to validate and confirm that. And then the geological models we build from those interpretations should reflect our data and our understanding of a project. It should be reasonable. And then finally, we apply our modifying factors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James and Arthur. Good description of both geological and modifying risks there to take into account. I always think of the geologist hat on, combining data sets is one of the biggest challenges we face, and understanding how to do that, particularly where we've got historical data as well as new data, is something we need to do and use expertise to do. So thank you very much. Okay, our next talk is from Bilgun from the Mongolian Mining Association. If you'd like to join us and take it away. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here as a speaker today, and a warm thank you for the organizer for bringing this wonderful opportunity. My name is Bilgun, and I am an advisor at the Mongolian National Mining Association. Today, I am excited to share you about the important topic of advancing geological exploration in Mongolia by leveraging the geographical database and driving the investments. But first, let's talk about the timeline of the Mongolian Geological Survey. From 2001 until 2004, the exploration activities was at a peak, covering 16.4% of the total territory. During this period, we were able to saw magnificent discoveries such as Oyutolga, one of the biggest the copper deposit in the world. However, in 2010, introduction of the new law got plummeted the exploration activity, reducing till 2.8% of the total territory. Today, exploration license covers 3.2% of the Mongolian total territory, while the active mining licenses only covers 1.2%. Currently, the government allocates the new exploration areas through tender process, and this timeline highlights the ups and downs of the exploration activity of Mongolia. But what's most important is the outcome, because the mining is the backbone of the Mongolian economy. As you can see here, that at the peak of the 2004, which was the exploration license, was that's the biggest. Our GDP and the export and state budget has made a significant increase. For example, GDP has grown by 32%. Export was increased 36%. State budget growth was 39 times. So it was by merely 1.2% of the total active mining license territory. The 30% of the GDP, 93% of export, 82% of the foreign direct investment, 33% of the budget, 72% of the manufacturing. It shows that Mongolia is really based on the mining sector. This brings us to the Mongolian long-term vision. The vision is a 30-year roadmap in order to develop and diversify the economy. It's divided into three 10-year phases, and we are now currently in a revival policy, which is from 2022 to 2030. This vision focuses on supporting 14 mega projects to transition the economy. To fund these projects, the mining revenue is crucial, which is why regaining investors' confidence is our top priority. Now let's take a look at the geological data. 47% of the territorial has been mapped at a scale of 1 to 50,000. Aeromagnetic mapping covers 60%. Geophysical mapping is at 43%. Hydrogeological mapping has reached 84%. Despite these achievements, 95.6% of Mongolia remains unexplored. Given our tectonic activities, these unexplored areas likely hold large reserves of critical and rare earth elements, which are in a high demand for global transition and clean energy. So why should you invest in Mongolia? This is the untapped exploration zone, which also I think you can get it after the slides has been presented, maybe uploaded in the website. You can see the detailed map right here. So why should investors consider investing in Mongolia? Well, first of all, lower exploration cost compared to other countries. And also Mongolia's proximity to China, which China is also the biggest raw material consumer, and vast, largely untapped exploration potential. The government is also working to create more investor-friendly environment by stabilizing legislation and offering tax benefits. But however, there's a challenge. Investors are still skepticism. Despite this vast potential and rising global demand for rare earth elements and critical minerals, some investors are hesitant to take the first step. They want to see results before committing funds, but the exploration cannot progress without the investments. It's creating a chicken and egg situation. What may break this cycle is maybe an initiative, Mongolian Mining Investment Fund. This fund could be a game changer. It's designated to finance exploration activities in Mongolia while reducing the risk for the individual investors. By dual listing it on London Stock Exchange AIM market and the TSX Venture Exchange, we can attract global participants. The fund structure will focus on transparent governance, strong accountability. These are the critical for building trust and confidence among the investors. With this mechanism, we offer something unique, a diversified approach to risk while unlocking Mongolia's untapped exploration potential. Additionally, the fund will align with the Mongolia's Vision 2050, ensuring that it supports the government long-term goals. By partnering with international stakeholders, it will boost Mongolia's global presence and distract attention needed to unlock the reserves. And it's not just about financing the exploration, it's about presenting clear, structured opportunity for investors to contribute and benefit from the Mongolia's growth. And before I like to conclude, I'd like to invite all of you to join the Mining Week in MinePro 2025 next year, which will be from September 11 until 13th. This is a fantastic opportunity for the investors to explore partnership opportunities, meet industry leaders, and see firsthand why Mongolia is the next frontier of the mining investments. And once again, thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. This is my end of the lecture.
Thank you, Bergen. I think that's a nice. Ooh, just disappeared into a hole. Sorry. I think that's a nice example of how there's three core pillars to introducing and encouraging investment in a country, and it ranges from commercial conditions, the legal tenure and security of tenure, and obviously geological potential. And you put those three together, and you get a encouraging investment opportunity. So thank you very much for sharing that. Okay, our last speaker before we move on to the panel is Erkan from Chariot Gold. If you'd like to join us, please. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ercan Ünlüyol, project manager for Chariot Gold. Now, I'm gonna introduce our company as a British investor in Kyrgyzstan, and I'm going to give some information about Kyrgyzstan. Okay, who we are? Chariot is a gold mining company in Kyrgyzstan. Our location is at the northwest corner of the Kyrgyzstan Republic. We are having exploration and development projects. Can you hear me? This way is okay? Okay, we have two high quality assets. One is Tulkubaş oxide deposit and the other one is Kızıltaş sulfide deposit. The total combined mineral resource is about 6.3 million ounces of gold. Our key assets, Tulkubaş, this is an open pit mine with heap leach processing. So total gold resources is about 1 million ounces of gold. This is M&I and inferred. The second asset is Kızıltaş. This is an underground sulfide mine. And we have 5 million ounces of gold. Again, M&I and inferred. Beyond these two projects, we have exploration potential, which is called Karator and Işıkıldı extension. Okay, gold mining in Kyrgyzstan. So before I go in detail in this, I would like to skip to the next slide and would like to talk about the mineral resources in Kyrgyzstan. If you look at the table at the right-hand side, you will see reserves of natural resources listed in the state balance as of January 1st, 2022. So type of minerals listed at the left, it is, you can see mercury, antimony, copper, lead, zinc, rare earth elements, aluminium, thorium, uranium, and of course gold and silver. And this is showing only the state balance values. There is a lot of potential in Kyrgyzstan because the Tanshian belt is running at the northwest corner of Kyrgyzstan up until northeast corner. So there is very big potential in Kyrgyzstan in terms of subsoil mineralization. So let's talk about the key players in Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyz Altın, Russian Platinum, Zijin, China Gold, Highland Gold, and Kaz Minerals. Among them, Kyrgyz Altın is a state-owned refining company, and they have multiple gold mines in Kyrgyzstan. The other companies are from Russia, China, and Kazakhstan. Over here on the left corner, you are seeing the gold production. So in 2015, 16 tons of gold already produced. Next year also same amount, 16 tons, and it is progressively increasing and reaching 33 tons of gold production in 2022, sorry. And on the right-hand side, you are seeing the licenses status in Kyrgyzstan. In 2018, the government issued 392 licenses for gold, and in 2019, 470, and 2023 also about 400. So there are also other licenses for other metals, like 100 about each year. So as you can see, Kyrgyzstan is very active in terms of mining sector. Okay, let's talk about investment climate in Kyrgyzstan. So in 2003, Kyrgyzstan GDP is amounted about 14 billion United States dollars. Out of it, 8 to 12% was coming from the mining industry. So the mining is a significant share of GDP in Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan has created a liberal legislative framework for the protection of the foreign investors' right, ensuring a skilled workforce, simplifying the tax system, and developing trade hubs and transport corridors. So I joined the company in 2017. It's been more than 7 years for me to work there and live there, and I am seeing it by myself. So this is really a very good improvement in Kyrgyzstan, that every passing year they are having a very good improvement in terms of the investors' environment. So I can say that every passing year, this is very good opportunity for the investors to invest in Kyrgyzstan. As I said, Kyrgyzstan has significant reserves of natural resources, as shown in the table. So this is a significant natural resources. And the Minister of Natural Resources and Geological Survey of Kyrgyzstan regularly holds meetings with the representative of mining companies to discuss issues and consider solutions to the problems that arise. We are actively participating in these meetings. This is happening once in every 3 months. Generally, the representatives from the mining companies gather together with the Minister of Natural Resources and Geological Survey personnel in Kyrgyzstan, and they share thoughts. If there are any issues, they are just raising and they are trying to find solutions. They are minuting it, and in the next meeting, they are sharing the thoughts. So this is showing the collaborative approach in Kyrgyzstan. The International Business Council, IBC, serves as a bridge connecting the business community with government agencies, international organizations, and diplomatic missions. We are also participating IBC events very actively. And finally, UK Kyrgyzstan Embassy. They really support Kyrgyzstan government in every sense. Recently, they started a project for development of the Kyrgyzstan's critical material strategy. So they hired a company, Boston Consulting Group, BCG. They visited Kyrgyzstan. They visited many mining companies. They visited some officials. They collected a lot of information and prepared a report and submitted to Kyrgyz government. So all of these are showing that investment climate in Kyrgyzstan is very good, and it's improving every year. Okay, let's go back to our project, Tulkubaş Oxide project. So on the geological map here, you are seeing Tulkubaş main zone with the yellow highlights. In the middle, Tulkubaş mid zone, and on the right-hand side, its zone. Tulkubaş project is JORC compliant reserve. It is proven and probable, supported by 107,000 meters of drilling. So the Tulkubaş project is a simple processing of heap leach, having 75% of average recovery with oxide material. And our project Tulkubaş Oxide is fully permitted and approved for the construction and operation. In addition to that, it is aligned with international environment and social standards. Beyond this, we have, as I said, we have exploration upside. So Karator and Ishikilde sites offer 5 to 10 million tons of oxide gold, which is subject to exploration and validation. Okay, what we have done for the Tulkubaş oxide project. We have completed bankable feasibility study in 2021 May by Logiprog and Sound Mining. These are the South African professionals. In April 2021, we completed a mineral resource estimate. We updated it. And in May 2022, we also updated all reserve reports. And finally, we signed 3 main contracts with Power China. One is EPC contract, engineering, procurement, and construction contract. The other one is mining operations contract. And the last one is operation and maintenance contracts. All are fixed price. In terms of geological information, we are very confident because 710 holes tested with over 100,000 meters drilling up to date. In terms of permitting and ESG, as I said, the project is fully permitted for construction and operation. Plus, we developed a system in accordance with the international environmental and social standards. Okay, what we have done physically for the Tulkubaş project. So we completed 70% of the whole road and some portion of the shift camp, which is 160 bed capacity. And also engineering is well advanced. For example, 70% of the crusher design completed, and 90% of the ADR ADR plant completed, and heap leach fully completed. We have IFC drawings. In terms of power, the electrical power will be provided by the diesel generating because we are in a remote area. So we are going to generate our own power at the site, but we are expecting some news from Kyrgyz government that there will be a hydro dam project nearby our project site. So they will start construction and hopefully finish the very big hydropower dam, so we can get the future powers from that project. Water supply. The raw water will be supplied by the wells. We have completed drilling 2 water wells near the camp area, and we are going to install the pump station. And 2 more water wells will be drilled nearby the process plant area. And of course, we will have some additional infrastructure like construction of other camp facilities, administrative buildings, cleaning, ERT building, and laboratory. Okay, now let's talk about the Kızıltaş project. At the beginning, I said we have 2 high quality assets. One is Tulkubaş, the other one is Kızıltaş. The Tulkubaş was 1 million tons of gold, but Kızıltaş is the real asset. It is 5 million ohms. Sorry, being confused about the numbering. It's 1 million ohms of gold in Tulkubaş and 5 million ohms of gold in Kızıltaş. The reason why we start with small project is it requires small capital. So we are going to complete the Tulkubaş project and generate the cash. And in parallel, we are going to develop the Kızıltaş project, which is the main asset, 5 million ounces of gold. It is sulfide refractory ore. It is underground mining, and it's under development stage now. And it is 3.3, almost about gram per ton of gold. So target production will be 200 to 250,000 ounces of gold per annum. So in here in the picture, you are seeing a construction site. On the right-hand side, you are seeing the geological roads, Sandalash Valley and infrastructure. On the right-hand side, you are seeing our Kızıltaş mineralogy, contact zone and main zone. Okay, what we have done for Kızıltaş project. In terms of geological parameters, let's start with the JORC compliant resource figures. So we have total 49 million tons of gold, and contained gold is 5.1 million ounces of gold with 3.3 3 gram per tons. So in the other two tables shows the breakdown of the resources. So location, Kızıltaş project is located at the same property as Tulkubaş. So it is really helping to develop the infrastructure and complete the construction facilities. And in terms of geology, mineralization from the thick lens is suitable for low-cost bulk mining. What we have done so far for the Kızıltaş project, a total of 393 surface and underground wire, 80,000 meters of drilling conducted over a 4 kilometers strike length. Another developed 2.1 kilometer long with a 1.6 kilometer sampling channel, providing technical data access for wider mining activities, and a database of over 58,100 essays spanning a sampled length of 84 kilometers, including drilling, surface, and underground workings. So in terms of the studies, we completed feasibility study in 2016 by engineering a Chinese company to Chinese standards, and we have updated resource report in October 2024. So, yeah. Oh, I'm already done. Just wrapping up. So, the plan is, as I said, the focusing on the Tulkubaş project, complete the construction, generate the cash, and in parallel, focus on the Kızıltaş feasibility study, make some further exploration, do the update in the feasibility, do the engineering studies, and then start construction, and then produce gold parallel, both in oxide and Tulkubaş projects. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's great. A great introduction and summary of Kyrgyzstan as well as the project, and exciting times ahead. So we'll move on to the panel. I'll be joined by David here in person, and then Penny online. I'm hoping will be the case. Let's keep our fingers crossed that technology is with us today.
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, fantastic. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, maybe just as a kickoff, David and then Penny, do you want to give just a 2-minute introduction to yourself? And obviously, you don't need to talk too much about the project, David, but just your role and what you can bring to the panel today.
Thanks, Tim. I'm Dave McKenzie, the CEO of Shark Gold Holdings. You would have just heard all about our operations, etc., in Kyrgyz Republic by my colleague Erjan. Looking forward to talking about the opportunities from, opportunity to ore basically here, especially around the exploration side and how we step through the development.
Great, thank you. And Penny, would you like to give a quick introduction to yourself for the people here in the auditorium?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Penny Althouse, CEO of Cove Capital. We've developed a number of critical minerals projects, including downstream processing, magnet manufacturing, metals and alloys. And currently we're very active in Kazakhstan, working with the US government and the government of Kazakhstan, where we've secured a number of critical minerals licenses and have a joint venture with Talkun Samruk, the state-owned mining company, to develop a very large rare earth project.
Great, thanks very much for that introduction. So, David, maybe we'll kick off. As you said there, great potential, geological potential in the region. Maybe just expand upon that a little bit for us and talk about the opportunities that you see in Central Asia.
Thanks, Tim. Look, I think it's total region really, as we've all heard, is very underexplored. I think now is a very exciting time given all of the geological survey work that's been undertaken, especially in Kyrgyz Republic. There's been a lot of work undertaken digitalizing all of that resource. And I think also now what's also impressive is the government's coming to the party with physical sort of reform. You saw Kazakhstan bringing in a tax sort of rebate almost for exploration work, which front ends the whole development side of things. You see Mongolia presentation where you've got funds being set up for exploration, and it flows through into Kyrgyz Republic as well. There's been a lot of licenses being offered now, a lot more access to information. It's been widely shared, and there's just a real focus on front end loading it, especially with also the
British embassy in Kyrgyz Republic is actually sponsoring a lot of work around how to set up the fiscal regime around critical minerals, etc., to get people in to explore so that they know that they can get the developments done.
Sure. And I guess with more companies participating in the region, in the market, that builds up a momentum, and you can utilize that to your advantage with all of the relationships that you need to hold.
Correct. And I think it just makes people more familiar with the region, the countries, the way things operate, the way things work. And exploration being a smaller scale game than full-on development just brings that investor confidence as well.
Super. Thank you. And Penny, you mentioned in your introduction there that you're working with the US critical minerals and the award of the concessions. How do you perceive the direction of travel for companies entering the market now?
Yeah, so we entered into Kazakhstan in early 2023, right after the US and Kazakhstan signed an agreement to collaborate on critical minerals. And then shortly thereafter, at the UN General Assembly in 2023, they had the C5+1 conference headed by President Biden and the leaders of the 5 Middle Corridor countries. So that's created, I would say, an easier path for Western companies and US companies like us to enter into the markets. There are still sort of various difficulties and nuances that we're not necessarily accustomed to as we would in the US, Australia, Canada, etc. But the governments, especially we've seen the government of Kazakhstan, are making significant efforts in streamlining various parts of the process, including the applications for mining licenses, permitting, exports of samples, etc. So we're seeing a lot of movement in a very positive way in the region. We've had meetings with the government of Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, and sort of given the need for critical minerals in the West and specifically in the United States, it's very important for US companies like us to be looking at development opportunities in Central Asia.
Okay, thanks. So again, it's that bringing together a community of and a collaborative effort that is starting to push things forwards, and I guess stakeholder management is really key in that.
Indeed, and it's not without difficulty, as I mentioned. The jurisdictional risk is something that many investors are not accustomed to. So I guess we're sort of testing the waters, if you will. And so far, the experience in Kazakhstan has been a positive one for us. And I think the governments there recognize that in order to build a vertically integrated supply chain, it's more than just having the majors come in and develop sort of projects that are, world-class deposits, as we've heard from the British Geological Survey, and I know the US Geological Survey is also quite active in these Middle Corridor countries in particular. We really have to build a mining industry from the ground up, and Western companies, whether it's United States, Canadian, Australian companies, are really the answer to being able to do that and build a long-term sustainable critical mineral supply chain and mining industry in these countries focused on critical minerals. And one of the initiatives that we've undertaken, for example, in Kazakhstan, is to, under the president has established the Bolshak Scholarship, which is a scholarship where students from Kazakhstan will go and learn in different institutions globally, for example, the Colorado School of Mines. So we're bringing them back, and we'll be employing them at our labs, our mine sites, etc., so that Kazakhstan can start to sort of build internal expertise as it pertains to critical minerals, and we'll be looking to do similar things in other countries in the region shortly.
That's excellent. I think it helps to build that sustainable mining industry for the future. So we're positive there. It's great to hear. So David, back to you. What are the key enablers that you feel that could help to accelerate project development in the region right now?
Look, I think it's all sort of focused around the timing at the moment, to be honest. There's obviously a real push in the critical mineral space. That's pushing a lot of solutions around trade finance. We've heard a lot of different things today from different parties, EBRD coming in with the jumpstart, etc., etc. And I think coming back to that sort of timing factor, the geopolitical situation at the moment has made the region possibly more accessible which has enabled, I think, other parties that generally maybe 20 years ago wouldn't have looked at this region for mining activity, now being able to come in confidently and actually create relationships with governments and get things done.
Yeah, and I guess as we saw in MINEX Central Asia this year and last year, that participation and engagement by the government is a real positive for people seeing that and starting that perception mindset moving forward, right?
Yeah, correct. And like the Kyrgyz government last MINEX came over with the biggest delegation they've had ever, I think. And they've been reaching out through those sort of forward-facing initiatives. Also, we've had a lot of interaction with the British Geological Service in country. We've had a lot of interaction with EBRD and UNESCO, etc. So it's been a real positive sort of outreach program that I think has been undertaken, and a real culture shift, I think, for both people in Kyrgyzstan and those external.
Yeah, cool. And I was talking to Nick earlier, these things take time, don't they? It's about building confidence and building geological data and all of that. It takes a few steps, and we get there eventually, but not geological time frames, thankfully. Maybe just switching back to Penny, in terms of your building competency and strengths within the regions that you want to work within, in terms of critical minerals, which you're specifically interested in, how do you foresee the transfer of technological knowledge and data and processes and practices going forward in the future?
Yes, so technology transfer is going to be a key component, and it's both beneficial to the host country and to us as well, not to have to ship, even a concentrate out of country to be processed elsewhere. I think in order to build, as we said, a long-term, sustainable, vertically integrated supply chain, there has to be some element of technology transfer. So one of the things that we're doing, again, in Kazakhstan, for example, is we are building a facility there, critical minerals pilot plant, which will then be turned into a scale commercial plant. So this is a venture that we're doing together with the government of Kazakhstan, which we received approval from in the last couple of weeks. Not just approval, the government will be providing various infrastructure as well. And we've already now technical teams, and we have ongoing meetings with geology, for example, and different stakeholders within the mining and critical minerals sector. So again, down the road, hopefully there'll be magnet manufacturing, battery manufacturing, etc., which I think will make the region, certainly countries like Kazakhstan, eventually other countries like Turkmenistan, etc., will make them key exporters of critical minerals and finishing products to the West.
That's great, thanks. And I think, certainly one of the things critical minerals has brought to the mining industry, and I don't know the distinction between the mining and processing industries that we talked about earlier in the day, is people's focus on the processing side of it and how to build that integrated, vertically integrated supply chain. So yeah, really critical and again positive for the regions that you're going to intend to operate in. And then just finally in terms of your relationship between the USA and Kazakhstan, what sort of support do you see from the US, and how does that influence how you go about the work you do?
Yeah, quite frankly, we wouldn't be able to be where we are in Kazakhstan without support that we receive from the US government. It's been quite high level support. Again, it's sort of come on the heels of the initial MOU that was signed in early 2023 between the US Geological Survey and Geology, and then subsequent to that, C5+1, which was during the UNGA conference in September of 2023. So having the US government involved makes it a lot easier for companies like us, especially around the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and the way that we would need to conduct ourselves as a US company. So certainly having that US government support and working closely with the government of Kazakhstan has facilitated the ability to have a streamlined process for applications, streamlined process for permitting. And in fact, for example, the government of Kazakhstan has established the Astana International Finance Center, the AIFC. So a number of our agreements are actually under the jurisdiction of the AIFC, which is run by UK judges, overseen by the former Supreme Court Justice of the United Kingdom. So we do have sort of a way to further mitigate any jurisdictional risk, which is signing agreements under that jurisdiction, and there'll be other such sort of abilities in other countries and Central Asia as well. But again, having the US government working together with the host country certainly makes it a lot easier for companies like us to operate.
And look, I think it's great to see such positive momentum and influence and connection between the different parties bringing together. And I think we've seen lots of examples of that today with the UK and the US and other parties and the European parties trying to link together to sort out that critical minerals conundrum. So yeah, that's great. Thank you, Penny. And then just finally, you've got an exciting time ahead. 2 projects to bring into operation. Obviously, I like the fact that you were discussing and the interaction between yourselves and the government, and that's a regular 3-monthly process, and you see that as a positive collaboration which can help, I see.
Interestingly, it's all mining companies in Kyrgyz Republic are now having this workshop with the government. It's been proposed and assisted by the British Embassy, have also been taking a lead with the critical minerals BCG study that's been undertaken. There's been a lot of feedback and working with them quite closely to put proposals to the government along with all the rest of the mining companies in Kyrgyz Republic. And everyone sees it as a bit of a win-win, you could say, because it's a way of having feedback both ways without having any sudden shocks.
Well, thank you both for being part of the panel. I wish you all the success with your projects. And thank you everybody for participating this afternoon in the session. Thanks to all the speakers, they were great. And I'll let everybody have a well-earned coffee break. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.